Imagine you're standing in the middle of a modern supermarket. Suddenly, the hum of the refrigerator stops. The lights flicker and die. Within 48 hours, those shelves are stripped bare. You look down at your hand. You got a high-end smartphone with no signal and a bank account that effectively no longer exists. Most people call this a nightmare. In systems analysis, we call it a total structural collapse. But here's the terrifying truth. We are the first generation in human history that doesn't know how to survive a Tuesday without a global supply chain. A century ago, our grandparents faced this exact scenario, not for a weekend, but for 10 brutal years during the Great Depression. They didn't have solar generators or tactical gear. They had something better. They understood the hard science of decentralized survival. They didn't just get by. They engineered self-sustaining systems out of scrap metal and biology. Welcome to CyberRat. I'm your host, and today we aren't just looking at old photos. We are going to reverse engineer the lost tech of the 1930s, from the chemistry of biological food security to the physics of zero-energy climate control. We're stripping away the modern fluff to see how the toughest generation in history actually stayed alive. If you think your prepper kit has you covered, stick around, because by the end of this video you'll realize the most powerful survival tool you own is currently gathering dust in your grandfather's shed. Let's get to work. To understand how they survived, we have to stop looking at stuff and start looking at systems. Our modern life is built on a just-in-time delivery model. It's efficient, but it's fragile. If one gear in the global machine slips, the whole thing grinds to a halt. Our grandparents, however, lived in a just-in-case world. Let's talk about the science of the root cellar. Today, we think of a basement as a place to store junk. In 1930, it was a sophisticated zero-energy thermal battery. By utilizing the Earth's natural geothermal mass, they maintained a constant temperature of 55 degrees Fahrenheit, regardless of the scorching heat or freezing snow above ground. This wasn't just storing food. It was using geological physics to stall the second law of thermodynamics. They weren't fighting nature, they were hacking it. And then there's the chemistry of the fermentation crock. While most preppers today obsess over Mylar bags and oxygen absorbers, which are finite resources, our grandparents used biological warfare to protect their calories. By creating an anaerobic environment in a simple stoneware jar, they cultivated lactobacillus. This beneficial bacteria produces lactic acid, dropping the pH level of the food to a point where spoilage pathogens simply cannot exist. It's a self-replicating organic security system. You don't need a refrigerator when you have a billion microscopic soldiers guarding your cabbage. But the real pattern interrupt here isn't the food, it's the energy loop. When the Great Depression hit, rural America didn't have a power grid to rely on. They used low-tech solutions like the Edison nickel-iron battery. These things are heavy, they're bulky, and they're inefficient compared to lithium-ion. But they are practically immortal. You can overcharge them, starve them of juice, and leave them in a shed for 30 years. Then just swap the electrolyte, and they're back online. In a world of planned obsolescence, our grandparents invested in indestructible systems. They didn't buy things that were smart. They bought things that were repairable. Because in a total system failure, a smart device is just an expensive brick. But a repairable system, that's your ticket to the next decade. We've covered the hardware, but now we need to talk about the software. Specifically, the 3 pounds of gray matter between your ears. In the survival community, we obsess over bug-out bags, but we rarely talk about normalcy bias. This is the psychological glitch that kills more people than starvation ever will. During the Great Depression, the people who perished weren't always the poorest. They were the ones who sat on their porches waiting for the old world to come back. They kept their suits pressed and their habits unchanged, expecting the system to reboot any day. Our grandparents survived because they practiced radical acceptance. They didn't wait for a bailout. They pivoted to a wartime mindset on day one. They understood that in a systemic collapse, the person who adapts the fastest wins. But here's where the science gets interesting: the social mesh network. Today, the lone wolf myth is a staple of American survivalism, the guy in the woods with a rifle against the world. But looking at the data from the 1930s, the lone wolf was the first to disappear. Real survival is a team sport. Our ancestors operated on what we call strategic community redundancy. If the blacksmith's forge went cold, the carpenter had the tools to fix it. If one family's crop failed, 3 others had a surplus. They built Fao Jai, fortress communities, not with walls, but with trust networks. They didn't have Facebook, but they had a decentralized information chain that moved faster than the local news. They knew who had the seeds, who had the mechanical skills, and who was a threat to the collective. In a modern black sky event, your most valuable asset isn't your ammo count, it's your social capital. Think of it like a computer network. A centralized server is easy to take down, but a peer-to-peer network is nearly impossible to destroy. By diversifying their skills and sharing the burden of labor, our grandparents created a human blockchain of resilience. They didn't just survive the collapse, they out-organized it. The question is, in a world where we don't even know our neighbor's middle name, how do we rebuild that network before the lights go out? So, we've analyzed the thermal physics of their cellars and the social mesh networks of their communities. But I promised you a secret, the one invisible skill that 99% of modern preppers are completely missing. It isn't a piece of gear. It isn't a bunker. It's applied resourcefulness, or what I call functional re-engineering. See, we live in a throwaway culture. When a sensor fails on your car, you replace the whole module. When your phone screen cracks, you buy a new model. We've lost the ability to see the latent potential in raw materials. Our grandparents looked at a broken leaf spring from a rusted-out Model T and didn't see junk. They saw a high-carbon steel blade. They looked at a discarded kerosene tin and saw a pressurized stove. This is the ultimate survival hack, the ability to look at an object and see not what it is, but what it could be. In a post-apocalyptic scenario, the person with the most stuff is just a target. But the person who can turn a microwave transformer into an arc welder, that person is an asset. They are the ones who rebuild civilization. If you want to survive like the greatest generation, you need to stop hoarding and start learning the logic of how things work. You need to become a repair rat. Because when the global supply chain snaps, the only thing you truly own is the knowledge inside your skull and the callus on your hands. Music. Sudden drop to a low rhythmic heartbeat. The tone becomes personal and direct. The Great Depression didn't end because the government fixed it. It ended because people out-engineered the crisis. They repaired what was broken. They survived what was unbearable. And they built a foundation that lasted a century. Now it's our turn to bridge the gap between the high-tech world we're losing and the low-tech world we're entering. Thanks for joining me in the shop today. If you want to see the hard science behind more forgotten tech, like how to build a 100-year nickel-iron battery from scratch, hit that subscribe button and join the Cyber Rat Network. Don't just prepare for the end. Prepare to build what comes next. Stay sharp. Stay repairable. I'll see you in the next one. Wait, before you go, I want to leave you with one practical calibration test. Our grandparents had a saying, use it up, wear it out, make it do, or do without. Most people today fail at the very first step. They don't even know how to use it up because they don't understand the limits of their tools. Here's your homework for the next week. Pick one mechanical device in your house that isn't working. A toaster, a flashlight, an old power drill, and do not throw it away. I want you to open it up. Don't worry about breaking it. It's already broken. Look at the circuitry. Identify the points of failure and try to map out the system flow. Why? Because the moment you stop being a consumer and start being a mechanic, your survival probability triples. You're training your brain to see the ghost in the machine. You're learning to speak the language of the physical world again. If you manage to fix it, post it in the comments below. Tell us what you found inside. We're building a database of repair logic here, and your fix might be the one that saves someone else's life when the grid goes dark. This is the frontier, guys. It's messy, it's covered in grease, and it's the only place where true independence is built. Look, if you're still here, it means you're serious. So I'm going to give you one more piece of hard science that most people ignore until it's too late. Everyone obsesses over stockpiling gasoline, but here's the reality. Modern gas has a shelf life of about 6 to 12 months before it turns into a gummy varnish that will destroy your carburetor. In a long-term collapse, the fuel everyone is fighting over becomes useless faster than you think. Our grandparents knew a workaround that we've almost entirely deleted from our collective memory: wood gasification. During World War II, when oil was rationed to almost zero, over 1 million vehicles in Europe and the Americas were converted to run on literally nothing but wood chips and charcoal. By heating wood in a low-oxygen environment, a process called pyrolysis, you don't burn the wood. You bake it until it releases hydrogen and carbon monoxide. That gas? You can pipe it directly into an internal combustion engine. It's dirty, it's heavy, and it takes maintenance, but wood grows back. Gasoline doesn't. That is the cyber rat philosophy in a nutshell. Don't rely on a dying supply chain. Learn the chemical processes that allow you to harvest energy from your immediate environment, because the difference between a victim and a survivor is the ability to turn a pile of sticks into horsepower. Think about that the next time you're out in the yard. You're not looking at firewood. You're looking at a full tank of gas for a world that's run out of it. We're going deep into the blueprints for a DIY gasifier in a future video, so make sure your notifications are on. You aren't going to want to miss the math on that one. All right, lights out for real this time. Go build something.